Years ago, I was with my wife and we were on vacation together, and I injured my back. And I have a muscle that wrapped around my spine that went into spasm. And if you've ever been to the hospital, the doctor, and they talk about the pain scale from 1 to 10, and one's like no big deal, and I guess like a 6 that really hurts. Like if you're, what is a 10? A 10 is when you're in so much pain you scream uncontrollably. That's what a 10 is. And so when that muscle went into spasm, dude, that's a 10. So I had to be in the hospital for a week and had to get through all that, which was pretty hard. And then when I got out of the hospital, I was home for a little while, and my dad, who I was very close to, went with hospice and then passed away. And if you're close to your dad, or if you've never met your dad, losing your dad's a big deal. It's just a major moment in your life. And then right after that, our house got damaged in a hurricane, so we had to move out of our house and live in a hotel. And then right after that, we had our second child, and 2 weeks after she was born, she had what they call an acute life-threatening event, and we thought we were going to lose her. We thought she was going to die. She's fine now, so don't worry about that part. But after going through that season, my wife said to me, "John, you're angry all the time. Like I just wake up in the morning just spitting bullets, just so angry." And I said, "Well, Angie, my back hurts, my dad's dead, my house is all messed up, and my kid almost died. I think I have a right to be angry." So she was like, "Well, John, you should go see a professional counselor." And I just had no interest in that. My dad had done counseling for people, and that never made sense to me. I always looked at people going to counseling and thought, just man up, dude. Just work harder. Just push through it. And here's my wife telling me, again, seriously, you should go see a counselor. So finally, I buckled down and I went and saw a counselor. And here's what's fascinating to me is I really thought that it was going to help out with my marriage. And it did, and I ended up doing a little bit of marriage counseling, actually a lot of marriage counseling, and it was really helped out my marriage. And certainly it helped out my relationship with my daughters and communicating with them better. In fact, years later, I put my daughters into counseling, and then we've done sessions together. It's really helpful. But the thing that surprised me is it had a profound impact on my business behavior and my success at work. And during that season when I was doing this, I had this fantasy about quitting my job. I was really unhappy at my job. And my fantasy was like this. I would dream to myself, I'm going to quit. And then I'm going to drive away from the office, and I'm going to drive over a bridge. As I drive over the bridge, I'm going to throw a torch out the window to set the bridge on fire. And I'm going to give double birds out of the window at the same time as I drive away, just sort of torching the relationship with that company. And while that fantasy seemed like a good idea, I knew in reality that was not a good idea. But here's what the problem is. My issues at work were like this, but they were being amplified by the emotional things happening in my home. And so the counseling helped me get my feelings down to where they were more calm. And it's not like I didn't deal with the issues at work. I was able to deal with the issues at work in a calmer place. So months later, after I was calmer, I did resign from that company. Now, in my business, when people resign, if you ever saw the movie Jerry Maguire, it's much like that. Lots of phone calls and people running and screaming and people leaving the office very quickly. Well, when I resigned from this company, they allowed me to have 3 weeks notice. And during that time, they allowed me to forward all of my emails and all of my voicemails to my new company, which is completely unheard of. And on top of that, this is truly crazy, they wrote a poem about me, and I framed it. It's still in my office right now. And so all of that to say, the counseling that I went to deal with those personal issues, yeah, it made me a better man, made me a better father, made me a better husband, but it also made me a better employee and a better boss. It opened up a whole new toolbox for me and enabled me to really maintain some relationships that really, really mattered. So my point of saying all that is like you can be a very successful person in life, but we all have hard times that we need to deal with, and we need to have the right resources to deal with them. Think about it this way. Somebody once said that if you play in the NFL, there's a 100% chance you're going to get injured sometime during the football season. You might just miss one play of one practice because you've hurt your pinky, and you got tackled and fell on it wrong. But you will get injured sometime during the NFL season at some place or time. So if you're going to think about going to play football in the NFL and you found out that the team that wanted to draft you had no medical staff, would you go play for that team? And the answer is no way. There's no way you would go play for that team. You are going to go play for a team knowing that they have the absolute best outstanding medical staff. Well, here's what I want you to know. In your life, whether it's next week or the next 5 years or next 10 years, you're going to have something significant happen in your life that's going to take you through a phase of grief. You're going to lose someone. You're going to lose a job. You're going to lose a skill set. You're going to have something tragic happen to you. In preparation of knowing that that's going to happen to you someday, get your medical staff in place now. Have access to a counselor. Have access to a recovery group. And know that you may not need it today or tomorrow or next week, but at some point when tragedy strikes, you have the resources in place to help you through that tough time. You know, if I were to walk out today and get hit by a car, I would go to a hospital, I would get treated and get broken bones, and I'd probably go to physical therapy and I would get better. Well, the thing about it is, if I were to walk out of here and found out that someone I love died, there are deep wounds that need healing. It's just they're inside my heart. And so I need to go through a process, just like recovering from an injury of a broken arm. You have to go through recovery of a broken heart. And there are ways to deal with that in very healthy ways so that you can then have a healthier, more productive life. And this is one of the many things we like to talk about at Crossman Career Builders.